right. Well, on the line, I believe we have a slightly disgruntled John from Basingstoke. Are you there, John?
I am indeed, Mark. Yes, this is John Ashe, with an E, from Basingstoke. Slightly disgruntled, though I have to say disgruntled isn't the word.
Oh.
Well, I suppose it is. It's a word. Well, I suppose it is the word in the sense that it covers how I'm feeling, but not adequately describing how I'm feeling. So in that sense, it's not the word, although it is the word, but not the word.
Right. Oh dear, John. How have we managed to upset you this week?
You haven't.
Oh.
Not this week.
Right.
No. I'm sure everything's fine and dandy this week.
Okay. What's the problem, John? How can we help?
Last week.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Last week.
Yep.
Yeah, you said it was this day and that day and Walrus Day or whatever it was, and it turned out to be also John Day.
Yeah.
And you didn't mention that. And
Yeah.
so then I phoned in, not realizing that, because I don't keep tabs on every kind of day it is, whether it's Flowers Day, Piano Day, Brick Day, or whatever it is. And it turned out to be John Day, and you didn't even say that, which was ridiculous. You were the person who initiated this, and you robbed me of my opportunity to talk about John Day on the appropriate day. So I'm disgruntled, although, as I said, that doesn't quite capture it.
Right. Oh, yeah. No. Okay. Yes, I remember you called in, didn't you? And we had a little chat about was it Lobster Day or something like that? And then
That's right. It wasn't. No, it wasn't Walrus, was it? It was Lobster. That's right. Yeah.
And yes, no, I remember that. And then, of course, after you rang off, I looked and realised it was actually John Day. So it would have been appropriate to talk about John, wouldn't it? As your name is very much John.
It's extremely John, and exactly that's the point, isn't it? You did mention it, but later, after I'd phoned in, it was no good. Then I couldn't phone in after that because I was busy. I was oiling my pogo stick, but whatever it was, I had grease and oil all over my fingers, so I couldn't get back to the phone very easily. So you robbed me of that opportunity, Mark, okay. And I have to say that I'm more than disgruntled.
Well, okay. Hands in the air. I am. You can't see, but I'm actually putting my hands up in the air and sort of saying, "Mea culpa, my mistake. I didn't realise it was John Day before you phoned." How's that as an apology? I do apologise, John. I don't want to disgruntle or otherwise one of our regular callers to the show. So do apologise, John. Sorry about that.
Okay, mea culpa, absolutely, as Adam in the Garden of Eden admitted to his sins. Exactly right.
Okay. How can I make it better for you, John? Can we talk about John Day now, perhaps?
No, I will have to wait till next year. Well, it's not John Day. It's inappropriate, really, to talk about it today, I think, really. Right. And think of all the other Johns who listen in who were also robbed of the joy of listening to my contribution, because I would have had some very good, very interesting and improving things, in terms of character, improving things to say, edifying things to say about John.
Right.
But now that those people will have to wait for another 51 weeks before they can hear my pearls of wisdom, which, not inconsiderable.
No,
I say it myself, I shouldn't.
Could you not sort of put yourself in the frame of mind where you could pretend you were calling in last week, or in fact 51 weeks' time, and tell us what you would have said or will be going to say? I'm not good with counterfactuals, Mark, but you're asking me to lie in front of all of your listeners. I mean, I think this is a new low. Well, it's not a new low, it's the only low. I mean, everything's high as far as I'm concerned with your show. I think it's very, very good, except this. Right.
This is this is newly low, in the sense of low being completely new, but it's a new low. It's the new low. Okay. It's the low. And you're asking me to lie in front of your listeners. I can't actually, to use a computing term, which is very fashionable these days, pass this suggestion.
Pass?
It's beyond words.
Pass?
P-A-R-S-E. I have a scientific background. Did I ever tell you that I have a scientific background? I used to be a quantities fair, Mark.
You did. You've mentioned that in the past, I think. Yes. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I do apologise, John. At least you phoned in, which is nice, because I remember a couple of weeks ago you said you'd never phone in again. So I do appreciate you giving us a call. That's a nice gesture, John, even though it is...
Yes, well... Yeah. Well, I think my embarrassment has been overcome now by your... Well, I won't call it malfeasance, because I don't think you intended to do this. I don't think you intended to rob me. No. To upset me. So I will call it an oversight, a gross, negligent oversight. Not criminally negligent. Right. But certainly, I think in terms of social responsibility... Well, negligent. I couldn't take you to court for it. Okay. But it does, over Well, I could try. It's supposed to be a waste of money, though. But it does tend to overcome my feelings of embarrassment. So, yes, I'm happy to call in. You noticed I am calling in this week, whereas last time when I called in, I wasn't calling in.
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay.
Yes. So I'm calling in to complain about this. And I want you also to understand one thing, Mark.
Right.
Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Not only did you rob Johns who might be listening in live, you also robbed those who might have been listening in not live, if you understand what I mean.
No.
Well, let's think about this. There are all sorts of people who could have listened in not live, aren't there?
Well, I mean, we are only available live, John, unfortunately. We've got no streaming service, so it's either live or nothing, if you like.
But I thought you were on the internet. So my understanding is that all things that are on the internet can be accessed in perpetuity.
No, we are a streaming service on the internet, but you can't actually listen to us again. We don't have that facility yet. So at least we can rule out all those Johns who weren't listening and who will never hear what happened last week. Although, of course, if they're listening this week, they'll know what happened last week, I suppose, so you could include them.
Yeah, well, I intend to include them, so let me change what I'm saying. So instead of they missed out on that opportunity, they would have missed out on that opportunity. Well, they will be missing out on that. Well, they would miss out on that opportunity were they able to access last week's show in real time now, which they're not. But they would have done had that been the case. So had that been the case, were that to be the case, then there are all kinds of Johns who could listen in John Cleese, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Could have enjoyed, or could be enjoying now.
Yeah.
Were that the case. And a John Major, indeed, who was, I believe, Prime Minister. I'm sure you remember him.
He was indeed, yes.
Yeah, so just think of the joy that you could have, let's say in a different possible world, rather than this one, you could have robbed John Major or John Cleese.
Yes. I'm trying to think how else I could have robbed.
Anybody that started with the name John, really.
Well, what could we have? I suppose I was going to say John Lewis. I suppose I guess John Lewis is probably deceased now, isn't he?
I should think so. John Taylor, the theologian. He could also have enjoyed this. I mean, there are lots of people called John. I have relatives called John. I'm called John.
You're called John. Yeah, I know.
I am.
You are called John.
Yes. I'm called John. So you see, you robbed me.
Okay. Well, look, I do apologise, John. I mean, in a sense, though, hear me out here. In a sense, isn't every day John Day, as far as you're concerned?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I suppose in a sense, that's true. I do enjoy each day, and I celebrate the fact that I'm around enjoying each day, and that other people are enjoying the day with me. But I couldn't say to complete strangers in the street, for example, my name is John, celebrate with me today that my name is John, because I'm sure they would say, why? And then I would have to say, well, actually, it's not John Day today, but were it John Day, you'd be able to celebrate with me. They'd think it was a bit strange. But if I was able to say, it's John Day today, celebrate with me that my name is John, they would understand. And they would say, yes, of course I will. Let's do something celebratory together in the middle of the street.
Okay.
Although, actually, a lot of people are a bit sort of glum these days, so I'm not sure most people would join in with that. Well,
look, here's a possible suggestion, John. Feel free. Feel free to go along with this or not. Now, do you have a middle name? Is that okay to ask? Do you have a middle name? Because if you have a middle name that is different to John, and there was a day with that name coming up, we could celebrate that. Would that count for anything, John?
Right. I have two middle names, but it's slightly embarrassing.
Okay, well, don't tell me if you don't want to.
Well, no, I will say, but it's like, all right, I will. Yes, I will confide in you and your loyal listeners.
Okay.
That nobody will share this because it is slightly embarrassing. And my two middle names are, well, Johan is the second one.
Right.
Which you all know, of course, is John.
Yes.
And the second middle name is Jack, which, as you know, is also considered to be a sort of nickname for John.
Okay.
So in a sense, my name is John. And of course, my surname is Johansson. So it's all a bit Your surname is embarrassing to talk about. Pardon?
Sorry, your surname is Johansson. I thought it was Ashe.
My surname? Well, that's my... no, not my surname. I do apologise. No, my mother's maiden name.
Right.
Johansson.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay, otherwise you'd be John, I suppose.
Yes, I would be. So what I'm thinking of, you see, is that my mother and my father, of course, did choose my name, and so her being Johansson and having lots of Johns in her family, decided to call me different variations of the name John.
Okay, because that you would have been... my maths might be shaky, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that John to the power of 4? If you were John?
Right, to the power of.
No, okay.
That would be quite a lot, wouldn't it, I suppose?
Right, okay.
It made me feel like it was even more than it is if you say the power of, so we'll just stick to times 4, I think.
Okay, fine. Well, look, John... Okay. Well, look, I'm sorry I'm sorry about that. I mean, we didn't mention you've got John Wyndham, the author, John Betjeman. If they were alive, I suppose they would have been miffed, perhaps, to not being mentioned. John Suchet, still alive, isn't he? As we speak, I think.
Is he?
Yes,
is he?
I think so.
Well, if we're going to include people who are no longer with us, then let me include the Apostle John. Let's go right back.
Right.
He'd be miffed as well.
Yes, that's very true.
Yes, indeed. Might even have interrupted his writing a gospel. I think of the damage that would have done.
But let's hope he had a proper Christian attitude and let bygones be bygones and forgave me my sin. How about that, John?
I suppose that's plausible, given that you said you're sorry.
Yeah,
yes. I think the gravity of the situation requires that.
Yeah.
That sort of.
Well, look, John.
Apostolic. What's the word I want? You're forgiven of your sins by a priest. What's that word?
Absolution?
No. Absolution is the word.
Right.
Yes, absolution.
Okay. Well, look, John, why don't you suggest a song for us to play? We can draw a line under this and move on, better people. How about that? What would you like us to play? What would you like me to play on the Valley Park Radio?
Well, I've decided that I would, because I'm a bit cross about this. I'm still a bit cross, even though you've apologised. My name's John. Missed the opportunity. So let's not even have something that's absolutely John even today.
Okay.
Let's cast the useless word John to the side. Let's get as close to it as possible to tantalise people like me with the possibility that we could celebrate our day. No. Okay. Let's have something that almost touches. So I'll have Joan, which of course comes from John. But no, let's have Joan.
Okay.
Let's have Joan. Let's not have John properly. Let's have something less. Have something derivative. That's how I feel. I feel derivative, Mark, even though you've apologised.
John. I do apologise.
So anything by Joan Armour-Trading.
Okay.
Do the trick, I think.
Not Joan Byers? You prefer...
No, that's a little bit too far in the past, I think, how I feel. I want something a little bit more up to date.
So we'll go a bit of Armour-Trading. How about that?
A bit of Joan Armour-Trading, yes, I think so.
Armour-Trading, Joan Armour-Trading. Anything particular by Joan Armour-Trading?
No, anything will do. I suppose there was that rather nice song from Silent Running.
Oh, yes. Well, isn't that Joan Byers, though?
Yes, that's right. Yes, there is that one, isn't there? But I don't want that.
Right.
I was just saying there is that rather nice song.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, John.
Something by Joan Armour-Trading, please.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, we'll get that on the virtual turntable for you.
Right.
Now, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to?
Let me think. Now, there's Molly and Maud I usually call out. I'm just trying to think which name is closest to John, Molly or Maud. I suppose Maud, because it's one syllable, isn't it? So Maud, yes.
I suppose it's also slightly closer alphabetically, isn't it, to John? Back in if you're thinking that A comes before O.
I think the syllable is more important.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do that for you. So that's something by Joan Armour-Trading for Maud. Okay.
Yes, because I'm thinking if somebody overheard you say Molly, but they didn't hear it distinctly, they would say, just what did that person say? Would be John, would it? But he said, Maud, could be John, couldn't it? I know it could be Bruce, but...
I mean, yeah, it could be anything, really, couldn't it, John? To be honest,
well,
to be fair.
It cuts out Molly. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It could be lots of names that are monosyllabic, but it cuts out Molly. It eliminates that possibility.
All right.
So we'll stick with a shout out to Molly.
Okay.
Maud.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, John. Well, lovely to speak to you as always. I do apologise that about what happened last week, and I hope to speak to you again next week. How's that?
Yes, very good. I do enjoy. Well, I'm enjoying the show. No, I just didn't enjoy last week. So anyway, thanks very much for taking my call. As you know, I'm calling in there, so I'll probably be calling.
Okay.
Unless I make a gross, embarrassing error next time, of course, as I did last time.
Okay.
Yeah. Or the time before, whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Joan Armour Trading coming up next. Lovely to speak to you, John, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Yes. Thanks very much, Mark. Good to speak to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Darren's Valley's radio station.